In this session, we're gonna reveal 9 outdated strategies that you as an Amazon seller shouldn't use anymore. Of course, if you want to run a successful Amazon business. We will discuss different things from competing only based on the pricing, copying what your competitors are doing, and many more things related to scaling your Amazon business. And I will be joined by 3 experts, John Gill, Gilad Freiman, and Ben Ryan Schwartz, who will share their insights and strategies with us. So hopefully you will enjoy this webinar and learn some things you should not definitely do anymore when you run your Amazon business. So let's say hi to all of our guests today. Hi, Gilad. Hi, Ben. Hi, John. Let's first start with the introduction of each of you. So Gilad, maybe you can go first and tell us what are you doing in Amazon space and how VAA Philippines helps Amazon sellers usually.
All right. So yeah, I'll start. My name is Gilad. I'm an Amazon seller since 2015, and I'm the co-founder of VAA Philippines and its CEO. VAA Philippines, we specialize in recruiting virtual assistants from the Philippines, and then we train them specifically to work with Amazon sellers. So we're an Amazon-focused company, and then we're training our VAs on everything they need to know. This is why we have all the knowledge of, seeing from what our sellers, we have more than 400 sellers, usually high-level sellers that are using our VAs. So we can see exactly what works for them, what doesn't work anymore. And this is what we're going to talk about.
What about you, John? What are you doing in Amazon space?
Well, I've been selling on Amazon for the last 11 years. Currently working on a relatively new brand. I built a few brands, sold them, working on a new brand right now. Expanding from Amazon, really focused now also on TikTok Shop, which is pretty hot right now. And then again, a lot of focus on our IntelliView platform, which is an amazing polling platform that gives you phenomenal insights that is helping on Amazon, helping on Walmart.com, Target, Shopify. So it's been very beneficial as a seller, especially.
Okay, very nice. So Ben, what about you and what Eva is doing in the Amazon space?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Ben. I'm the VP of Growth here at Eva. I've been in the retail and I guess e-com space for over a decade now. So at Eva, we specialize in helping brands grow profitably, we reduce their operational complexities, and help them dominate the market. So we have a SaaS platform as well as a solutions team. And so not only are we working with Amazon sellers, but we're also working with these same sellers that are selling across other marketplaces. So that could be Walmart, TikTok Shop, Wayfair, as well as even D2C, like if they have a shopping cart on Shopify.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks all of you for the introduction. So as I explained earlier, today we're going to focus on sharing strategies which are not working anymore or which are outdated, because I think it's a very important topic, because oftentimes Amazon sellers are kind of struggling a little bit to find reliable strategies or just knowing what works now. So if you're watching us live and you're learning something new today, then don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to our Orange Click YouTube channel if you're not yet a subscriber, to see webinars like this in the future and also other videos from our YouTube channel. And how we will do this today is that each of you will share their 3 points, after which you are happy to answer any of the viewer questions. So very important, if you have any questions to Ben, Gilad, or John, then leave them in the chat box and we're going to address them shortly. So we kind of discussed who wants to go first. Gilad is very excited to share what he prepared for today. So Ben and John can listen and enjoy to the presentation as well. So Gilad, go ahead, share your screen, and let's pull up your presentation to see what you're sharing with us today.
All right. Okay. So obviously we're going to talk about outdated Amazon seller strategies to avoid in 2024. And like I said, all our focus is on VAs and what they help Amazon sellers. So we see what works for them before and what doesn't work for them anymore. And we're going to talk about actually 3 different tips I'm going to talk about. One is, first mistake I would say, is relying solely on Amazon listings with still images compared to videos, and we're going to talk about it in a second. The second point will be about treating PPC campaigns as a project-based task. And the third one will be using solely direct influencers marketing. Let's start with the first one, and I'll explain to you what I'm talking about. You see, this used to be like a perfect listing on Amazon with the perfect images, and all sellers used to work a lot with our graphic designers and in order to create the perfect image and work on that. If like 5, 6, 7 years ago, John said he was selling on Amazon, 11 years ago. So over there, the text was everything. You have to invest in the text, less about the images. Amazon advanced since then, and there's more and more importance in creating the perfect images. However, we can definitely see that the more you go into 2023, and especially this year, it's going to be more or almost all about videos. John mentioned the TikTok Shop. You see how important we have for videos these days, and to sell on videos. Think about yourself when you're buying something on Amazon. You're not looking at the text almost at all. You're looking at the images a little bit, and then you're looking to see where you have the videos. So videos are something that you have to be in and use it with all the power that you have, and using more and more of videos. You can see it, for example, on video ads. You can see it on the Amazon listings, the branded videos, Amazon posts, reviews videos. These are all the places that customers, when they go into your listing, they look for. Even on reviews, they go over there and they see like what people thought about in a video, not in the text itself. And people think that this is like going into videos is something super complicated, cost a fortune. You have to to hire like a video production company in the States, and everything would be super expensive, and you have to really prepare for that. While actually we see that a lot of brands, even intermediate level brands, are just using a video editor that costs pretty much like $7 an hour, and you can definitely have a full upgrade of your listings just by having a project-based designer or a video editor to create all these things for you. So the first thing I would say for you is stop relying on images, go more and more into videos, and understand that this is not that expensive as you think. It's something that the video editors are doing already for our sellers. We see it obviously in the beginning with the high-level sellers, and then it grows more and more into the intermediate. So don't wait until everyone's doing it. Be there now. So that's one thing. I think it was pretty obvious. If you're not doing it, you have to really go into it. The second thing is outdated strategy. Number 2 is treating PPC campaigns as a project-based task. And what I mean by this is that a lot of people think that PPC is something that you have to do and prepare, and then just play and forget, fire and forget. And this is not the reality of 2024. These days, you have to be there all the time. You have to have somebody who's watching your campaigns every day, looking exactly to see that what's working, what's not working. And the question that people think about is, do I need a VA to run my PPC campaigns, or maybe I'll just need to set up the campaigns and run, and maybe updated it before Christmas and something like that? It's not working anymore. These campaigns are alive. There are more and more solutions that Amazon gives us on PPC. You see all these updates that's coming in, all the new features that they added in 2023, and the fact that if you think that just creating your campaigns and forgetting about it and checking like once a week, 2 hours a day, it's not going to cover it anymore. So PPC VAs that we see that are working for big agencies of ours and big sellers, they're doing it every day, at least 2-3 hours a day on doing all the keyword research, the bid optimization, the search term reports, campaign management, understanding all the different tools that are new and live that Amazon provides you, and applying them immediately before the others. So the idea is that you should have somebody, either yourself, or obviously my perspective of it is that you had to have a dedicated manager, a PPC manager, VA to work on your campaigns. But doesn't matter who you decide to do it. It's something that you need to do on regular basis, and not just once in a while when you have the chance. So that was the second thing that I wanted to talk about. And the third thing is actually more about social media, using solely direct influencers marketing. And the problem here is that before, people would say, okay, I would invest either on my PPC, or I invest on, for example, influencers, or maybe a little bit of influencers, because it costs a lot. I need to find the right person to communicate with them, to create a deal with them. And then who is guaranteeing that this person will actually provide? Okay, I'm going to pay them in advance, and I'm going to put all the money in there, and then in the end, I'm not even sure that I can track how many people came because of this influencer, and is there any way for that? And I think a lot of people are not really familiar with tools that are. I'm going to give here this is one example. I think it's a great tool, Archer, that we see a lot of our big sellers that are using, and what it does is that it actually allows the VA to work directly with the influencers and add them to this platform. And then what happens is that, first of all, you don't have to pay the influencer in advance. The influencer is paid according to every sale that he sends somebody to buy on Amazon. Okay, so basically you can track it, and you're not investing $2,000 in advance. The more the influencer will bring people to buy the product, the more the influencer will be paid, even maybe more than you thought of. But it means that there are more sales than you thought of as well. So you can pretty much add it to your return of investment calculations instead of just thinking of it as a lost investment that you're not going to get back. So that's one thing. Use tools that will allow you to monitor and exactly know how much you're going to spend according to the amount of sales, which also going to push the influencers to push you harder, to push you more and to create more sales for you, because that's the only way that they'll get their money back. And by the way, Archer also helps you to get the Amazon attribution back. So not only that you get more sales from outside, not inside of Amazon PPC, but you're getting people from outside of Amazon to go into Amazon. Amazon appreciates that, and then they'll pay you back with the Amazon attribution, which will even cover the cost of the VA that's doing all this process, finding the influencers, working with them, communicating with them, creating the deal, and so on. And then it's just the attribution of Amazon is covering the cost of the VA. So basically, you have a full operation here that we see the big sellers that are already doing, because they master this part, and it's something that's running by itself. We see sellers, working with sometimes even 20 different influencers. They have an army of VAs that are using all these influencers and are working with them, and they're paying only for the sales that are coming in, and they're covering the cost of the VA using their attribution. So for them, they can grow more and more. And if you're not doing this, then stop doing what you did before and thinking that it's a lost money or whatever. Use this now. I think it's a great tool to have, but it's not the only one. There are a lot of them, and this is what's going to happen more and more in 2024. And TikTok is another reason for this. So we see all these networks that are becoming increasingly high and growing every year, because people are really into influencers, and it's something that we didn't see a year or 2 years before. So these are the three things that I like to say. Obviously, it's a small gesture in here, but I'll be happy to answer also any question if anybody have. But these are my tips for 2024.
Thank you so much. Very interesting to hear your take on it. And actually, before I'm going to invite John here, because I want to ask one question from him related to your tips as well. I wanted to say, if you enjoyed what Gilad just explained about and you learned something new, or you now know how to do some things better, then definitely like this video as well. Also, if you have any questions for him, leave them in the chat box. We're going to either answer them right now or in a little bit. So John, I wanted to ask, so you mentioned earlier in your introduction that you are a long-time seller already and have been in Amazon space for a long time. What I'm always curious about when I talk with US-based sellers is your own buyer behavior when you're shoppers on Amazon. So Gilad mentioned in his first point that everything is going more from photos and just regular visuals to videos. So I wanted to ask, have you noticed yourself as a shopper paying more attention to the videos now than maybe a couple of years ago when you were shopping for things on Amazon?
That's a great question, and a great presentation, Gilad, by the way. I got a lot out of it, so thank you. That's a great question, and I honestly don't know if I could properly answer it. And here's why. I look at videos all the time, but I study the videos as a seller, not as a consumer. So I'm seeing what my competition's doing. I'm seeing what other people in similar markets are doing, just to get ideas. So I'm looking through it through a different lens. I'm looking as a competitor, and seeing what other people are doing. What's new, what's innovative, what's trending. Things of that.
Mhm. So it's probably difficult to be between in these two different roles or separate them, right? Like you as a seller and then you as a just customer, right? Because every
Yeah.
time you would shop on Amazon, you would look probably on more details than a regular customer would.
Yeah, but I also believe in and agree with Gilad the importance, because to me the big difference, and again this is where I'm seeing opportunity in the TikTok space, is that so somebody goes to Amazon and they're looking for a product. They go in there, they put their the keyword in, and they're going to see all these listings, but a lot of it is just it's going to be based on price, based on reviews, and based on the main image, right? So a lot of times that doesn't tell the whole story. The video allows you to tell the whole story. It tells you what is your unique selling proposition. Why should you buy versus buying the competitor? So that's where I see the power in video. You can communicate that. Why am I different? Because again, in many situations on Amazon, there's a ton. Like I'm researching a product right now that I'm looking to add to my brand, and it's one of those what I call your typical Amazon Me Too product. It's selling well, but 15, 20 people are selling the exact same product. So what happens then? You're competing on price. It's a race to the bottom. That's not a game I want to play. So you want to be able to separate yourself. You want to be unique.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, John, for your additional comment and thoughts. Very interesting to hear. And Gilad, again, thanks. So we're going to now continue with 3 strategies John will explain to us or share with us. So Gilad can also go and enjoy his presentation now. So I know, John, so you don't have slides today. So we're going to go through 3 important points you prepare for the day. So let's start with the very first one.
Yeah, and first and foremost, please allow me to apologize to the audience for not having slides. I was actually asked about 90 minutes ago to jump in because my colleague Peter Paul Mann, who's awesome, and you guys are going to get an opportunity to meet him at your event next month. I highly recommend you connect with him, book a call with him. The guy's brilliant, and Mel's as well. Mel's will be speaking at your event. Another, probably the smartest Amazon seller I've ever met, and I've met a lot of them. So. Definitely get around these guys. There's a lot to learn. So I think again, so because of that, I don't have slides. I apologize.
Don't worry about it. It's good.
I promise I'm gonna do my best to deliver value. And I think what I have to say has a lot of value, and it ties in a lot to our platform as well. And so, the IntelliBee platform is basically a polling platform. And when this thing was developed, when we came together and started strategizing it, and Mel's and his team were the ones who put it together, is the way it started is we were building tools for ourselves, things that we as sellers thought we needed, and we definitely needed. And I think getting back to what I said about the Me Too products, I still see that as a trend with sellers. They see what's selling, what's popular, and they maybe jump on Alibaba or whatever, and they copy it. And to me, that is a huge mistake. When I first started in business 11 years ago, the strategy in creating a listing was finding your top competitor and copying them. All right. First and foremost, back then it wasn't a good idea. Today, it's even a worse idea. And that's what a lot of people do. And the other thing a lot of people do, they tie in, is they get too attached to their listing. All right. So I look at it as, anybody in the audience that's a parent, when you have your child and your child is born, that is the most beautiful thing in the world. It is the most beautiful baby. It's prettier, better looking than any baby on the planet, even if the kid looks like a darn lizard. To you, it's the most beautiful thing on the planet. I think that we do that as well with our listings. We're so proud of it. We put a lot of work and effort, and we look at it and we say, that's amazing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. So the thing that you'll always hear me say, especially when I'm talking about IntelliBee, is I don't care what you think. So everybody listening here, I don't care what you think. I don't care what I think. I only care what the consumer thinks, because that's who we're communicating to. So that, again, the strategies that I'm going to be talking about, they're all going to be convoluted, but it's different things, but all in one. So so bear with me on this. Yeah, so again, I don't care. I only care what the consumer thinks. But the challenge in the past was, how do you get into the mind of the consumer? How do you know what their needs, wants, and desires are? Or even more importantly than that, what information, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, are you looking for from me in order to, to provide to you so that you can make a confident buying decision? So in the past, we had no idea what that was. We guessed, we thought, we'd ask friends and family, and they're never honest. They're going to tell us what they think we want to hear. But the important thing, and it's critical, is knowing what the consumer wants, and that's why it's important, to use some type of tool, or use something to be able to communicate with that consumer and find out what it is that they want. For example, what we've been doing lately, when I first got into the business, we relied a lot on hacks, little black hat things, gray hat things like that, hacks. If anybody's talking to you about that, run. Those things do not work. They're too risky. They're too dangerous. And anything that does work is temporary. Amazon has caught on to all that stuff. What we've learned is focus on the basics. Be great at the basics. And the number one thing is optimizing your listing. What we've learned through case studies, one after another, and real life experience, is the better your listing is optimized, the more it's going to convert, the more successful you're going to be on Amazon. So again, what does that mean? So it's talking about, going back to what I said. So what I do now is, and again, using IntelliView, is that I will poll and I will survey things like my main image, mine versus my competitor. And I'll tell you a story, I'll give you a case study. So, and this is, and again, the information that comes from the consumers is mind blowing. So there was a case study where the product was a set of floating shelves. All right. And so it was the main image versus the main images of the top competitors. And the idea on this particular one is the top competitors had 2 shelves with decor on it, little plants, picture frames, little knickknacks. Great. Well, the product that we were testing, the quality was so amazing that the idea was, let's outsmart the competitors, not put any decor on the shelf, and just focus on the shelf itself. Well, long story short, it wasn't such a great idea. So when we did the polling, that image lost to the other competitor. But it's more than just a yes vote, no vote, up, down vote, whatever. There's a question that's posed so that the consumers are communicating back to you and telling you what they think. So what they were communicating was, I like the other one because it shows the decor, it gives me an idea of the size and the scale, and it gives me an idea what it's going to look like in my home. Okay, fantastic. Great information. So then we did another survey, this time with decor on that shelf. And originally in the first one, lost 60-40. All right, 60% went to the competitor, 40% went to the one we were testing. Then we did another survey immediately with decor on the test shelf and beat the competitor 60-40. But the crazy thing, and this is very, very important, the crazy thing is in the comments that appeared a couple times, because looking for common themes, was that they felt in the image that, because it's a set of shelves, 2 shelves, that the shelves were too far apart. So had the graphic artist cut out some of the dead space, bring them together, and did a third survey. And every time we do a survey, it's always a new group of people. This time, instead of winning 60-40, won 90-10, 90% versus 10%. Who would have thought in a million years, by just bringing those 2 pictures together, that it would make that much of a difference? So now the main image itself is more optimized. And then another survey, the image stack, because it's all, the images are critical, including video. And the feedback, now this time it was this test product versus the 2 main competitors. First one, it was just the one competitor. And the feedback, and this is the crazy thing. So a lot of the feedback, the common thing, because again, looking for that common theme, was I like this one over the others because it looks easier to install. Although there was nothing in any of the images on the 3 different listings, not one image that said anything about the installation. But what did the consumer tell us? That was important to them, that was important. So again, I said, what information are they looking from us to deliver to them so they can make a confident buying decision? So guess what? On the image, on the listing we're testing, it now has images talking about the importance of the ease of installation for this particular product. And none of the others are doing that yet. I'm sure they'll be copying soon. So again, it's getting, in the past, what we relied on was what we thought looked good. Again, the baby lizard. We thought that was the best because it was ours. We made it. We were proud of it. We put a lot of work and effort. Have no clue what the consumer's thinking. But and again, it's taking that feedback and making changes to fully optimize your listing so that, again, and also to differentiate yourself. So you'll get feedback back from the consumer that tells you what's wrong with your product and how you can improve your product. And that's another thing too, is in the past, we relied so much on post-sale analysis. Create the listing, start your launch, get it going, and then, after a little while, step back and analyze it. That's the way it was done in the past. Now it's pre-launch and analyzing. And again, and that's done through polling. So I don't want to know after I launch it and make mistakes and lose sales and lose ranking and lose all those things because my listing is not fully optimized. So now, what we do and what we find has been very successful and very important is the pre-launch analysis. And again, that's done through polling. So I already know when I launch it, I have a really good idea that my listing is fully optimized. Obviously, later on, there's always going to be tweaks, but it's fully optimized, and that that I'm giving the consumer what they want. And not only that, is I am separating myself from my competition because they don't have this information. They don't have the ability to get into the mind of the consumer and find out what they think. So again, don't rely on what you think, rely on what the consumer thinks. So that's kind of everything kind of tied together. I hope that was value to all of you. But again, the biggest thing is, again, get into the mind of the consumer. Forget about what you think. Forget about what your friends and family think. Find out what the consumer thinks, because that's the person you're trying to communicate to. That's who you're trying to sell. And again, and separate yourself from your competition. And again, that a lot of times that's done through images, through words. Even if you have the same product, you can position yourself differently. But again, if you know what the consumer is looking for, you can do that, and you can do that successfully. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And also, again, same message to the viewers. If you enjoyed how John just discussed about some of the outdated strategies and gave advice on how you should work with your product listings and with your store, then don't forget to like this video to show support to us, but also to our guests today, so we could bring more videos like this to you in the future. So I'm going to bring in Ben, who is our next presenter. And Ben, I wanted to ask you one question related to John's presentation or tips. What do you think? Are more sellers today like using all of these third-party tools and are really like doing the Amazon in the right way, or there's still like a lot of room for improvement, even for like experienced sellers who maybe, let's say, if we talk about like stepping into the shoes of the customers, they're still maybe doing everything from their personal preference instead of asking really their customer base and then fine-tuning their product listings?
Yeah, it's funny because as John was talking, I actually was taking notes and I was like, yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, I think for those of us who've been in the space and in the game for long, I think one of the core things I think that John mentioned, as well as Gilad, was that it's about focusing on the basics. I think, in order to focus on the basics, you need to make sure that you set yourself up for success. And so I think the really savvy sellers have recognized that Amazon can only give you so much natively within the platform. And so you do need to augment that with additional tools. I think the challenge, though, that most brands and sellers run into is that there are too many tools that are out there. And so what you don't want to have happen is kind of be tool overload. You don't want to be using, 10, 12, or however many tools to run your Amazon business. And so I think what we're starting to see is a consolidation of tools and people starting to build out tools that kind of can be like that one-stop shop. Because again, at the end of the day, what is incredibly important is that you need to be able to move fast in Amazon. You need to be able to reduce and remove complexities for teams because they're already being overwhelmed as it is. And so the other thing that John said that really struck me, and I agree 100%, is that you really need to take your cues from customer behavior. And so from my perspective, that's why capturing and reviewing data is so important. And some of that data will be accessible in Amazon, and some of that information you're going to get from like a third-party tool. Like from my perspective, again, having worked at Amazon, believe it or not, with sellers, and then after leaving Amazon, I actually worked at an Amazon agency as well as ran a 3P seller business. And to me, there's one of two problems that most brands are going to have, and sellers, I should say. It's either a traffic problem or it's a conversion problem. I mean, if we just boil it down, that's typically what the problem that needs to be solved. And so if you can identify whether it's a traffic or conversion problem, then that's where optimizations come into play. And so the types of optimizations that you're going to tackle are going to either be SEO related or paid ads, pricing, or even perhaps like content and creative adjustments. And so to me, like if those are the foundations and kind of the backbone, let's just say, of what you really need to pay attention to, as well as be executing on day in and day out. That's ultimately what's going to contribute to your long-term success on Amazon. If you can do it natively in-house, fantastic. Some folks do. Others perhaps choose to either augment it with tools or perhaps even with a third party.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for the comment. And again, John, also thanks for sharing your insights with us. So if any of you have any questions to John now or in a few minutes, then leave them in the chat box because we're going to come back to the questions after. Ben has also shared his three outdated strategies that he put together for us today. So John, you can also go and enjoy Ben's presentation. And Ben, I would now ask you to share your screen so we could move forward with your tips or information.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, just good day, everyone. Again, my name is Ben, and I lead growth here at Eva. To recap, we specialize in helping brands grow profitably, reduce operational complexities, and dominate their market. Super thrilled, to share some critical insights with all of you today. So, navigating through, a digital revolution in e-commerce, Amazon lives at the epicenter. And so staying ahead in the rapidly evolving landscape is critical to your success. Understanding shifts is more than staying relevant. It's about seizing opportunities, enhancing efficiency, and driving sales in a more competitive marketplace than ever. Whether you're a seasoned seller or new to the Amazon platform, the insights I'm about to discuss are pivotal in shaping a successful e-commerce strategy. So let's talk about the importance of data-driven insights. In the past, many sellers have relied on guesswork or traditional market research. However, in the digital age, this approach needs to be updated. Data is the new currency in e-commerce. A study by Forbes showed that data-driven organizations are 6 times more likely to retain customers and 19 more times likely to be profitable. The reason? They understand their customers better. They analyze customer data, track purchasing patterns, and adjust their strategies based on solid evidence. Consider the power of Amazon's A10 algorithm. It's not just about keywords. It's about understanding buyer intent, seasonality, and competitive analysis. For instance, when a brand begins analyzing customer reviews and search trends, it can optimize its product listings, resulting in meaningful increases in visibility. So how can you implement this? You can start with Amazon tools like brand analytics. You can dive into demographic data, search terms and purchasing trends. And then you can utilize external tools for even deeper insights like Google Analytics for traffic analysis, or even a tool like Eva. So remember, this goal is to make informed decisions, not just to collect data. Number 2, remote work. It's not just a buzzword. The pandemic accelerated a trend already in motion, which was the shift towards remote work. For Amazon sellers, this isn't just about where you work, but how you work. According to a report by Buffer, 99% of remote workers prefer this mode for at least some of their time. Productivity supports this preference. Stanford published a study that said there is a 13% increase in productivity among remote workers. So what tools are we talking about? Project management tools like Trello or Asana to keep track of sales and deadlines. Communication tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams for efficient team interactions. Cloud storage and collaborative platforms like Google Drive or Dropbox for easy access to shared documents. Integration of these tools is vital. For example, imagine if your team implemented weekly virtual meetings and shared dashboards like those that are available in Eva for real-time project tracking. Imagine how this could lead to faster decision-making and significantly reduce time to market for new products. Finally, let's address social selling. Social media is more than just a marketing tool. It's a direct sales channel. 30% of online purchases occur via social media platforms. Is your team paying attention? Research from Hootsuite indicates that 43% of internet users use social media to research brands. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook have integrated shopping features, turning browsing into buying. Brands are capitalizing on this. For instance, some of the most well-known leading brands leverage Instagram stories and shoppable posts. They showcase their products in real-life scenarios, making it easy for followers to purchase directly from the app. The result? A dramatic increase in sales from social media channels. So to start integrating social selling, you can start with your target audience. Where do these customers spend time? What content resonates with them? Use insights from your social media platforms to tailor your content. And most importantly, make the journey from post to purchase seamless. And here's another tip. Link your social media content directly to your Amazon listings. Now that we've agreed to embrace data-driven insights, remote work tools, and social selling, you might wonder what's next. Well, Eva offers robust analytics and AI-driven insights. It helps you understand your customer behavior, track sales trends, and optimize your product listings based on real-time data. You're not just collecting data. You're gaining actionable insights to drive your decision-making progress and boost your sales. Our cloud-based platform enables your team to collaborate seamlessly no matter where they are. You can manage your Amazon inventory, oversee pricing strategies, and track performance metrics, all within a unified interface. Our platform ensures that your team stays connected and efficient, even remotely. Lastly, Eva is more than just an Amazon tool. It's a comprehensive service for modern e-commerce sellers facing modern challenges. Our all-encompassing e-commerce solution extends to popular channels like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And our team of experts can provide insights into which products are trending and what your customers are talking about. These insights allow you to tailor your social media content and campaigns more effectively, ensuring your social selling strategies are data-driven and aligned with customer interests. To wrap up, we've delved deep into 3 outdated strategies for Amazon sellers: relying solely on intuition instead of data-driven insights, neglecting the power of remote work tools, and overlooking the immense potential of social selling. When updated and optimized, each of these areas can significantly boost your performance and presence on Amazon. However, it's also important not to neglect the fundamentals of selling on Amazon. Whether you want to better understand your profits, optimize your advertising, recover your FBA refunds, or properly manage your inventory, the Eva platform can be your secret weapon. The future of e-commerce is exciting and full of potential. By adapting to these modern strategies, you position your brand to participate in the marketplace and lead within it. Thank you for your time today. And I really hope these insights have sparked new ideas and strategies for your Amazon business.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for your presentation. I think now, because we basically in the last half of your presentation, you were talking about tools, and actually I would like to have John and Gilad also joining us now, because we have one question from our viewer to which maybe you, all of you or any of you, know a good answer to. Would you recommend any tools for keeping track of expenses, profits, anything to do with the money when it comes to Amazon? Maybe even there's some templates you're aware of which our viewers could download from somewhere. So Ben, I think you mentioned Eva provides profit analysis, right, within the tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of, was one of the foundations of the platform that we built. We actually just recently launched, believe it or not, I think today actually it went live, actually a new plan specifically focused on profit analytics. And so the beauty of it is, since we have an integration directly with Amazon, we pull in all of the available reports that currently exist. So that could be, sales reports, advertising reports, FBA inventory reports, and then all brands and sellers have the ability to input some additional information that doesn't typically exist in Amazon. So think about things like COGS, for example. You can actually enter all of that directly into the Eva platform, and we will actually create for you a line-by-line item P&L that actually can get super granular. And then we will actually show you what your true net profit is. So I don't want to mispronounce her name. I think it's Sayora. Sayora, if you are interested, definitely feel free to check out the Eva website. And we actually have more information on the site specifically regarding this profit analytics plan that is launching either today or tomorrow.
John and Gilad, do you have any recommendations for any tools maybe you're using yourself or you have heard good words from other sellers about?
Gilad, you want to go first?
Well, if we're talking about specifically by profits, expenses, and so on, well, first I'll join and say that Eva is a good tool. We have actually a lot of sellers that are using Eva as a main tool, and I know that they're doing that. In addition to that, even if you're in a phase that you don't think that you can either that you want to afford or you want to pay a monthly subscription to a tool, you can always decide that you're going to use even like Google Drives and have your VA working on it. Like I said, for me, like working with a VA is something really like crucial and essential. I'm not even gonna think about working without it. So when you have a VA, sometimes you can start with understanding the importance of putting everything on Google Drives and Excels and having already the information presented to you that as the first step. And then once you feel that this is really bringing you a lot of understanding of your business, then I would definitely go into automated tools such as.
Actually, yeah, before John, I'm giving you the stage to answer as well. When it comes to templates, I would also recommend looking up different videos on our Orange Click YouTube channel, because we have different experts visiting us all the time with whom we do the interviews. And oftentimes they provide any type of downloadable template that could be helpful to get started. So John, what are your thoughts?
Well, again, when it comes to, the direct question as far as monitoring, expenses, profits, again, I agree with both Ben and Gilad. Eva, I've heard great things. Actually, I had a question. Ben, what's your website? Because I'm interested.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I actually had it on the slide. So our website is...
No, but it was so small. I need stronger glasses.
Oh, fair enough. Thanks, John, for the plug. I appreciate it. It is Eva. That's EVA.guru.
And I also think all of the links to your website. So Ben Intelevi, John Intelevi, Ben Eva, and Gilad's VAA Philippines are also in the video description below. So if you want to check out any of these companies, then feel free to do that as well. And I also think we have Eva's website now in the chat box listed as well.
Yes, thank you so much. So yes, Eva.guru.
Thanks, Ben. But to go a little bit further, obviously. Now, here's a crazy thing, because obviously I'm very biased with IntelliView, but as a seller, it's been a game changer. Again, getting back to the basics, understanding your consumer, taking that information, optimizing your listing, getting back to the basics. And it's funny that all three of us kind of touched on that, the importance of getting back to the basics and communicating, whether it's through the videos, whatever, communicating with your consumer, finding out your consumer's needs, wants, desires, and communicating that through your listing.
Okay, thank you all. So we have one more question, which is for Gilad specifically. So Phil is asking, Gilad, what automated tools would you recommend for utilizing influencers?
Well, I mentioned that on the presentation. I don't know if you're giving the presentation afterwards or so or not. The one that is mainly used by our sellers is Archer, and like I said, it really brings you the option to find. The VA is the one finding the influencers. It's not necessarily that you have to use the tool to find the influencers, but once the VA finds the influencer, they bring the influencer into Archer. And then over there, you can decide that, what exactly, how much you want to give to the influencers from each sale, and then you connect also the Amazon attribution to it. So that's one thing that I'd definitely recommend. The second thing would be Ambassador. I'm not sure yet about the website exactly. It's called Ambassador, and maybe you interviewed them before. And over there, it's really mainly for Amazon Live. So if you're looking for influencers on Amazon Live, instead of finding them outside of Amazon, then there is this tool which is great, and it allows you to find the influencers, communicate with them, create a deal over there, and then they post it there. So it's great.
Okay, thank you very much. And also Sayora is saying thank you for the previous answer you gave about her question. So I do have one very important question for all of you. But before we go to that question, I wanted to say that actually the best way how to know what are the best tools out there, also how to be updated on what's working and what's not, is going to different events which are specially created for Amazon sellers. So I'm very happy to say that all of you are joining us for a next Orange Click event, European Seller Conference, which will take place in March. So I'm going to quickly pull up the event website just to introduce you. If you're watching us now and you are based in Europe, or why not based also in USA, and you would like to learn more about how to run an Amazon business in Europe. So the European Seller Conference takes place on March 13 to 16 in Prague, Czech Republic. And it's designed actually for experienced Amazon sellers who already have achieved the first success, but would like to scale their business further and more higher, because we will have around 200 attendees from more than 40 countries joining us for these days. And here's a quick overview how the event works. So on March 13, we start with the VIP day, where the most experienced Amazon sellers gather for an intimate day for networking. So there's a little bit of fun, and also VIP masterminds led by chosen experts. So you can really go into details of the strategies that are working right now. And then on March 14th and 15th, we will have the main event magic. So the main conference days, we will have more than 15 action-packed presentations from the top experts from Europe, US, and from the rest of the world as well. And we're going to finish our conference with the advanced workshop on March 16, led by Chris Rawlings. And this is aimed to be a very intensive 5-hour workshop, which will help to transform your Amazon brands and really solve any problems you have. As I think Ben was mentioning earlier, usually it's either the question of conversion or traffic. So this workshop will help you to kind of overcome either of our problems you are having or other problems you might experience as well. So before wrapping up with today's webinar, I wanted to ask, so we talked about some of the outdated strategies that we should kind of forget about and leave behind to have a successful new business year. But as the business is changing all the time and Amazon Marketplace is also changing all the time, what would either of you say, what is kind of the number one area you would personally recommend sellers to focus the most on in 2024 to have a successful year? We already talked they should probably focus on the basics, but maybe there's something specific you can share. And maybe Gilad, you can go first.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk actually about the specific tools and so on. I think, and it goes well with the basics, but I think what you mentioned here is knowledge, because everything is changing all the time. For me as a seller, the most important thing that helped me to grow my business very fast, this is how it all started for me with VAs, because it grew faster than I could handle and I needed VAs. So the best way to do it is to always be aware of what's new, like the new features, the new tools, the new updates on Amazon, and apply them faster than your competitors. When video ads was launched, the ones that went there faster than everyone else and created these videos, they got a crazy conversion rate because nobody else did it yet. And so the idea is, and it's not only inside of Amazon, it's also about the different tools out there. So understanding which tools are there and which new features they launch is also super important. For me, at the time, I had a dedicated person for that, but doesn't matter. You could always, the idea is already to either look online, subscribe to all these Facebook groups, YouTube groups, and really listen. And it's not just knowing that something is new; it's immediately do something about it. And I think events like the European conference in Prague is definitely something worth going because of this, because you learn what's new and you go back immediately with a list of things that you want to apply.
That's true. And I also wanted to highlight that with the European Seller Conference, all presentations are full of actionable knowledge. You can basically apply the next day, or why not also in the evening, but probably in the evening, we would have different networking activities, and networking is also one very important thing to focus on. So John, what about you? What would you say for the sellers?
Well, the crazy thing is there's not one answer for that.
For sure.
I could go on forever. But again, I think a couple of things that I could recommend. I mean, first and foremost, know your customer. Know your customer, because if you don't, you're dead in the water. And that can set you apart from your competition easily. And I've seen that make a massive difference. Again, I'm speaking as a seller. So I think the other important thing that, and again, I'm not promoting your event, but I'm promoting your event. What I have found that was critical to my success in this space was getting around the right people. Networking is mission critical. We recently were at an event in Orlando a couple of weeks ago. I was with Peter Paul, and I remember it was late. We were tired. Peter Paul just got in from the Netherlands, and they were doing the networking event. And I'm like, Peter, let's go back to. I'm exhausted, but he talked me into staying. And the funny thing is in that networking event, I met several people who I'm now working with today that, to me are going to be mission critical to our success. One of them was this young gal that's a TikTok shop expert. So when she introduced herself and she said what she did, it's like, I need to talk to you. I mean, right away. So again, after all these years of networking and being around and going to these events and surrounding myself around these people, I can tell you this without exaggerating. Any challenge that I may have, any question that I may have that I don't have an answer to, I know I can pick up the phone or an email, and there's 10 people that I can reach out to that can answer those questions. So I think that's important. The other thing, and I'll end it at this, and God, it sounds like I'm promoting everybody here, but is diversify. Now, again, I am speaking as a seller. One of my focuses this year is diversifying. Amazon is phenomenal. Amazon is amazing. Amazon is also a giant pain in the butt, but there's other platforms out there. And I think it's important. And that's why, where during Ben's presentation, it's like, oh, what's his website? What's his website? So I think it's very important to diversify and look at other platforms as well. And here's the thing as well, is that, believe it or not, being on other platforms and even having a moderate success will improve and will affect your Amazon business greatly. I just saw a case study, and it was actually done by my son, who's a phenomenally successful Amazon seller. And he's right now after 2 months, he's in the top 10% of TikTok sellers. And so he showed a graph where he showed his TikTok sales versus Amazon sales. And as TikTok started to grow, Amazon followed. So he got a massive, massive bump in Amazon sales because of TikTok. So Amazon tracks everything that's going on the internet. So I think it's important. So you might want to be reaching out to Ben and looking at other platforms as well. And again, I'm not a paid spokesman. I'm not an affiliate. I'm speaking as a seller myself, and the things that I'm going to be focusing on. And that is definitely one of them, the omni-channel approach.
Yeah, actually, one thing I wanted to say about the events, I was also at one event just about a week ago, and why it's important to go to event is that to just listen and talk to real sellers who are doing it right now today, and listen what kind of strategies they are using or what they are doing, because there were also very young sellers. I think there were a team of 2 sellers who have been able to grow their business from 0 to 8 to 9 figures within just I think to 8 figures with 9 months. So it's like, if you're just sitting at home and you're just getting information from YouTube, you never really talk with resellers who are out there and really doing it. So I think it's very important to get the inspiration, but also get the know-how, like what's working right now. So Ben, gonna give the word for you now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think days of growth at all costs, those days are over. If we think about just the global economy. And so I think one of the core things that businesses and sellers should be focusing on, believe it or not, is actually profits. John was just saying, obviously, about diversifying away from Amazon. And I think part of the reason why you want to do that is because it's becoming more and more expensive, to sell on Amazon. And so if we think about these, there are all these things that you could be doing with your business. But the most important thing to understand is you can't really do everything all at once, because if you do, there are financial implications. So I think by focusing on profits, you then have a better way to understand, are you making the right investments that are giving you the outcome that you actually need? And so I think that's one core thing that I would recommend that all sellers and brands should be thinking about is, if I'm making these investments, is this having a positive impact on the business? Because while growing top line is great, if you're growing at the expense of actually making money, then you're actually doing the exact opposite of what it is that you want to do to really scale the business.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think all of these thoughts are very good ones, hopefully helpful for our viewers who are watching us live today or later as well. So thank you, Gilad, Ben, and John, for joining me today, for taking the time and also supporting European Seller Conference. So hopefully we're going to see all of you and also all of our viewers today in March in Prague in Czech Republic. So thank you all.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, and now as we are wrapping up with today's webinar, I would like to invite you to come to Prague European Seller Conference. And I wanted to say that I recently recorded a video about the event to give you a better overview of what we are going to do on different days, who are going to be the speakers, and what kind of topics we cover. So now go ahead and have a look at that video.